Welcome to Uninterrupted. This podcast was merely curated with one goal: to build a community, a familiar thread to connect with like-minded individuals. A community where one can find purpose, one that serves you that feeling of warmth, one where you feel you belong. Our episodes feature unfiltered, free-flowing, and candid conversations with women from different walks of life who've created an impact in their own fields. So gear up to be inspired. I'm your host Samriddhi Taneja, and this podcast has been presented by mirrAR by Style.me. It is the world's first ever augmented reality technology platform that enables virtual try-ons in real time for brands in the retail industry. Today, I'm in conversation with a very special guest. I personally look up to her because she has been able to successfully break so many stereotypes and has translated her passion into her profession. She is an actor, she's a model, she's a Bollywood TV host who was born and brought up in the States, absolutely obsessing over Bollywood. I am so glad to have on here Shivani Bafna. Her journey has been extremely intriguing, and we hope to give you a glimpse into her life and so much more in today's fireside chat. Shivani, thank you so much for being part of Uninterrupted and choosing to share your journey with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a sweet intro. Thank you.
Okay, so Shivani, I firstly have a question that I've been dying to ask. Like, what is your earliest memory of Bollywood? Like, can you recall, say, a movie, a scene, or an actor that absolutely got the kid version of you starry-eyed?
Yeah, so I think it would be when Kahona Pyar Hai released. I think it was the first Bollywood movie I watched. And I remember just seeing Hrithik and like dancing to Ik Pal Ka Jeena and like standing in front of the TV and trying to mimic those same dance moves. And I used to like growing up, I would after dinner go up and change into like my salwar suit and come back down. And my parents would play music and I would always make sure that there's a camera recording me. So I have so many like childhood memories of just me dancing to Bollywood music. But yeah, I think Kahona Pyar Hai was the first like distinct Bollywood memory I have. I had a definite like girl crush on Hrithik Roshan that started at what, like age 5 or 6.
God, I think that's all of us. I feel like we all have that one story. For me, I think it was like, you remember that song called Chal Chaiya Chaiya?
Of
Every time I
course.
would hear it, I would like, my mom would play it when she wanted to like wake me up. So I think like that's such a cute story. But you know,
Yes.
from there to like now being like a Bollywood host today, can you like briefly recap your journey for our audience?
Yeah, so I always struggle at unpacking the story because it's so layered. But I guess that's the beauty of having social media. But I guess a brief journey is I was born and raised in the US. I'm a second generation Indian American, and I always thought I wanted to go into the sciences and I wanted to become a doctor. But I always had the side kind of passion or side just interest in Bollywood. And I used to follow all the Bollywood gossip, watch all the movies, I learned all the songs, but I
Yeah.
never thought that it was a career that I could actually pursue. I just thought that this was like, something from your dreams. And I
Yeah.
stumbled upon the internship at Miss Malini when I was 18, which is a huge entertainment portal, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with. And after interning there, it kind of opened my eyes that there's a world beyond these conventional career paths of science and business and engineering and lawyers. And I told my parents, like, if I can convert my passion into my career, like, this is what I want to do. And I think it just came down to a lack of exposure. And over time, I had a bunch of different internships and work experiences. And I'd be in the US, I'd still be working for, companies in India and really trying to grow my network. And ultimately, I ended up taking this huge plunge and I moved to Bombay when I was 22 in 2018. And I pursued this full time, and it's been such honestly, just an incredible journey with so many highs, so many lows. And I'm just so grateful for the experiences that I've had. And it's been fascinating just like navigating the space and figuring it out. But in terms of what the actual journey has been like, I recommend everyone follow on social media because I think it's important navigating it because all too many times we see the final product, we see what it's like, once she's on the billboard, once she's interviewing X celebrity, once she's recording the podcast. But I think before that and what it takes to really get to the spot, I think the behind the scenes is equally as important.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. For everyone who does not know this story, I would recommend going to her channel because you will love the 18-year-old Shivani as much as I do. But Shivani, I'm just going to like squeeze in a question about, something that I read about your journey and something that I got to know from your channel. And I also know that, you've released a video recently about your modeling experience and especially with TFM.
Yes.
So if I were to ask you, how true are all notions that, everyone has about the modeling industry, that, like people don't get paid, and it might seem like really interesting from the outside, but it could be daunting for a lot of people. So, what would you say about those notions? Like, in your experience, is all of that true?
Yeah. So I think one, it's wrong to, defame an entire industry based
Yeah.
off of one agency's experience. So I wouldn't say that, oh,
Hmm.
every single agency operates like this or everyone in this industry is corrupt and unethical. That wouldn't be
Yeah.
fair. But I do think there's a lot that happens in these industries behind the scenes that isn't as glamorous as an 8-year-old or 10-year-old Shivani would see on screen, right? I think there are a lot of politics. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that aren't as picturesque or as fair or as equitable, if that makes sense. But I
Yeah.
think that's where these conversations are important. And that's where I think it is necessary to highlight a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes because otherwise it never comes to light. No, I don't think that
Yeah.
every single person in this industry is like this, but 100% I think my experience was telling of the fact that it's not always unicorns and roses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, it took like a lot for you to even release something like that. It was 100% like a really, really bold move. And I mean, kudos, like not a lot of people kind of like speak up about like what happens. And if I may, like, if you're comfortable answering this, what has been the response to your video? Like, has there been any follow up on that? Or, did other people reach out saying that they've had a similar experience or anything, backtracking to that release?
Yeah, so I have been so fortunate that I've gotten an outpour of love, of support. I
Yeah.
really don't think I've gotten any negative feedback, which I was very pleasantly surprised
Hmm.
by. I think I always assume, right, like people will just want to see the nice, fun Bollywood stuff. But the fact that this kind of a video got the response it did was extremely encouraging for me. Um, I guess your other part of the question was, sorry, it was what was the feedback like and what did it take to release
Yeah.
it? In terms of what it took to release it, I think, again, it's easier said than done. I was able to release this video because I'd come back to the US. There's so many models
Hmm.
that reached out to me like, Shani, we're still in the same situation. But if we were to speak out about it, like we would definitely not get our payment and it would impact our career trajectories. And I think that is the reality that sometimes when you're in these situations, when you're experiencing it, and I'm releasing this video a year later, and it was only coming after the Diet Sabya post. If Diet Sabya
Yeah.
never shared this, I really don't know if I would ever have the, motivation or the strength to like come out and film this because it was something I was like, you know what, this was way in the past. I really don't want to talk about it because I don't know what the ramifications will be. So it's always not as easy for people in this industry when they're in this space to talk about it. And I definitely was able to because I was back here in the US.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And I'm just going to build up on something that you just said, with people reaching out and everything. It is a community. Like even in the industry, usually like build your own community. So how crucial has your network been when it comes to the modeling industry per se? And would you have any tips for people who are just maybe like, starting out in the industry?
I think mingling at parties till 3 a.m. is so over glamorized in this space. I believe you don't need a Soho House membership. You don't need to become fake best friends with people and start name dropping. And I think that's often associated with what it's like to work in the modeling industry. I believe that networking is important, but I personally value like real conversations and people being able to appreciate you based off of your work. So at the early stages of your career, it's hard. You have to consistently put yourself out there. But I think showing up with like pure intentions and not this like, it's so quick to sniff out someone's intention. And when you see someone that's trying to do it for all the wrong reasons, I think people are really quick to pick up on that. Yes, I think it's important to hold your ground when you're talking to people and not come off like you have no idea what you're doing. But I don't think you need to pretend to be someone that you're not when it comes down to networking. I think people invest in people that are doing good work, that are communicating it well, and just bring an overall positive energy to the room. So in the modeling space, I do think it's your work that speaks louder than your network, is what I strongly like to believe and what I do think was the case for me. But of course, you'll meet people, and I think they'll connect you to other people, and sometimes it organically happens. I do think a lot of it just is about your own work.
Would you say it's kind of the same or like at least similar for Bollywood? Or do you think like, no, there's like a big differentiator there?
In terms of networking?
Yeah.
I think with Bollywood, I think a lot of it is still connection based. And I think that was for me being able to hedge your bets on the fact that when you are competing in a world against star kids and then people who are, let's say, dating ex people in the industry, and there's so many people like this. I think if you want to be the sidey best friend, if you want to be the supporting cast role, I think it's possible. But you really, really, really have to be dedicated, I think, for at least 10 years if you want that main Bollywood hero role. And I think that was something that a lot of people come to Bombay dreaming that, oh, it's going to be possible. And then after 2 years, 5 years, you're like, I don't think so. But I think it's the people that really persevere and stick around and are so dedicated to their craft post that like 6-7 years that then end up getting to their final goal. I think it depends on what your goal is in Bollywood and what you're willing to do, or how many years you're willing to devote to it to get to like that top level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely that investment, but like the return is great. But at the same time, I think you just have to figure it out for yourself. Like, what is it that you're looking for?
Exactly. And I think there's so many people that, like, you look at a star like Baman Irani or Nawazuddin Siddiqui, and just the journey that these guys have had and the amount of hours that they've put in, it is so inspiring. But it's the fact that it's not overnight success. And a lot of people, especially in our generation, are so terrified by the idea of, oh my God, I'm going to spend 10 years and what if I don't see the return? And I think that's the scary part with acting, especially, and with Bollywood in general, is that there's no guarantee. And that's where, I think connections do play a larger role in being able to potentially expedite that process.
Right. So now I'm just going to like move to a little bit further from the business side of things. Shivani, you've often mentioned that, all your initiatives are ultimately leading to building your own brand. And I think it's the same for everyone, right? At the end of the day, you become your own brand. But if you were to define Shivani Bafna, the brand per se, like what would you say?
Yeah. Shivani Bafna, the brand, is synonymous with Shivani Bafna, the person, at this point in time. It's my diary navigating my personal and professional lives with a mix of Bollywood, fashion, lifestyle, mentorship. But overarchingly, I think I strive to encourage my community to take risks, pursue their passions, and live life with authenticity. I don't think it's a community where, we only talk about one thing, or there's only one facet of your life. I think it's multi-pronged. We all have so many different passions. We're multifaceted. And I think that's what I strive to talk about. That's what I celebrate. And that's what I hopefully encourage my community to do.
No, even with Uninterrupted, like we are trying to build a community. And the beautiful part is that everyone who's ever been on like an episode has constantly spoken about the importance of building your own community and of being authentic. Like that's literally one thing that, has been my biggest takeaway from all my conversations. So, I mean, it's a great initiative. And your journey and the passion to achieve your dreams has always been so real to me. And it's obviously like it's hugely inspirational, but if you were to kind of attribute that to some personal qualities or even professional qualities that you do hold, can you tell us a little bit about those? Like, what is it that makes you the way that you are
Yeah.
today?
Uh, in terms of qualities and attributes, I think there are a lot of smart and a lot of talented people. But I truly believe it's the energy and communication you bring to a room that people ultimately then believe in and then invest in. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I will often joke in interviews, right? Like I might not know how to do a certain Excel function or, create X formula, but I know I have the ability to communicate my thoughts. And I think that energy that you bring to a room, that's what people invest in, right? I think people believe in people more so than
Yeah.
the actual technicalities. So I'd like to think it feels weird to boast about yourself,
Mhm.
but I think those are qualities that I value. And it's definitely helped me in my journey.
Yeah, no, I think you're one of those content creators where, your reels also feel very real. So I want to say, like, one, I want to congratulate you for, the great journey that you have had as, like, a content creator. And also, like, my favorite part about this is that the on-screen Shivani is almost very similar to the off-screen Shivani. So I think that's great. But do you think there's a difference between, like, the two personalities? Like, where is it that you kind of draw that
Yeah,
line?
honestly, there probably should be a bigger difference because everyone tells me like, "Oh God, Shivani, for your own sanity, there should be some separation." But as much as I share on camera, there's a lot that I don't share because I do want to keep some things or some moments for just me. If I'd had to think, I think off-screen Shivani is a little bit more emotional, probably more vulnerable, but also more like my parents and brother would say, I'm much more argumentative and much more heated. And maybe that's not a side that you see on screen. I don't think I'm getting into like heated argument. I definitely I share my perspectives and I definitely give my opinions or even if I'm not asked, I give my unsolicited opinion. But off-screen Shivani is probably even more than what you see on screen.
Which version do you like more?
Oh, I mean, I love who I am, right? So I love my off-screen Shivani. I think the most important relationship you have in the world is the one you have with yourself. And, behind the camera, if you're not able to look in the mirror and just be happy with what you see and be able to go to sleep at night knowing that like you're a good person, life becomes a lot more challenging. And uh, though I don't think there's a big difference between on-screen Shivani and off-screen Shivani, for sure off-screen Shivani is 100 times more important.
No, I completely get that. And, like, I think it's very important for even the audience to kind of draw that line. Because I know, I have seen those content creators where, they expect a certain level of privacy from their viewers as well, which is just so hard to get because, in this space of like, especially like online space, there's no line, right? You literally feel like you know the person when you're on their channel or, you're watching their videos, you feel like you know them completely. But I completely agree when, like at some point, I think we as viewers need to draw that line, and I can't talk about it more, but I completely
Yeah, and
understand
I
that.
also think, right, sometimes, and I get it, there's so many creators that even I look at, I'm like, oh, I know exactly who they are. And I'm sure people feel similarly, like, oh,
Yeah.
we get the kind of vibe that Shivani's like, and we know her and we know what's going on in her life. But there's also so much that you don't know. And there's so much that like doesn't make the Instagram stories. And I think that's a important thing also, and I'm glad you're talking about that sometimes viewers also don't recognize that there's so much that may happen behind the scenes, even in our own lives, as much as we share, that isn't making it to social media.
Yeah. Now, Shivani, now that you've kind of like moved back home, no one really knows the appropriate definition of what the new normal would like look like, because we're all at home, where everything is kind of like taking a 360 turn from I mean, I've been working from home for like, I want to say around 7-8 months now, and that is going to continue for a long time.
Yeah.
I can't even like kind of predict the timeline for that. We don't know what the future looks like, but in terms of what you have planned for your own self, or like what your future kind of looks like for you, what kind of an impact or an influence, if I may use that word, are you trying to create right now?
Yeah, so I think it's silly for all of us right now to be pretending like we have these grand plans figured out, because I think everyone is taking it day by day and figuring out what tomorrow is even going to look like, let alone, even today, right? But what kind of impact I want to have. I want to continue paving a path that thousands of people can then follow. And a big inspiration for me has been knowing the fact that no single person I know has done what I want to do or has walked this path that I want to pave. And I don't have all the answers. I don't know what in 6 months what I'm going to be working on or what the next project is, nor does anyone. If anyone tells you that they know, they're lying to you. No one knows what they're doing fully. But I hope I continue to pave that path, and I hope I continue to inspire people to take risks, to pursue their passions, and to step outside of their comfort zones. This is a really interesting period of time where we have a lot of time to reflect and a lot of time to think. And I think in times of tragedy, there's also a lot of opportunity. And so many of us are spending time on things that they've maybe not thought about. And that could be something as simple as cleaning your kitchen or something as starting up a new hobby, right? I think it's a beautiful time to also experiment and see what's able to come out of this time.
Shivani, this was absolutely a fabulous chat. But before we hop off, I have one last section for viewers to get to know you a little bit more up close and personal.
Okay.
It is a rapid fire round. It's called High Five. So let me know when you're ready.
I am ready. I've
Okay,
not
go.
looked at the questions before. So if half of these I was mumbling, it's because like I didn't look at the script before. So hopefully this is a rapid fire.
No, I'm sure you're gonna do great. I believe in you. I believe in the 18-year-old energy. I'm sure you still have
Okay.
it.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
awesome. So if you could be the brand ambassador for a lifetime for one brand, which one would it be?
I mean, it would have to be something food related because food makes me the happiest. I'm thinking I would love to be the brand ambassador for Chipotle, so I'd get like a free Chipotle burrito bowl. Or maybe I'm addicted to boba, like bubble tea.
Yeah.
And my dad's always telling me like, who pays $5 for this drink? So maybe I would be the brand ambassador for bubble tea.
Okay, awesome. What is your favorite Bollywood film?
So cliche answer, of course, is going to be like Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, because I think it is all facets from family to romance to culture to drama to everything. But I also really enjoy the movie Hum Tum. That was the first movie, fun fact, that Sham and I also saw. I
Yeah.
think it's a really cool film where you get to see a lot of phases of Rani and Seth's life, and I love the romantic comedy aspect of it as well.
Yeah, I think every time I see that film, I figure out something new, and then I'm like, okay, this was new. This is why I watch it over and
Yeah,
over
it's
again.
so layered. Like it's a film that I can always come back to, and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. I think actually there are a lot of Bollywood movies. Like if I start to derail your rapid fire, I'd say like Ye Diwani Hai Diwani is also like really really nice. Oh, Dil Chahta Hai, Zindagi. Oh, there are too many movies. Too many movies.
Okay, cool. Okay, so would you like to be a host? Would you like to be an actor? Or would you like to be a model if you were to do one of these things going forward?
Oh gosh, that's such a difficult answer. Can I say like a combination of all three? Any industry in which I continuously feel like I'm learning and I'm growing in. I think the moment you reach saturation, that's the point where like, okay, now I need to pivot. So right now, I've really been enjoying, I think, the hosting. I like bringing people together. I like hearing people's stories. I like learning from their stories. So maybe that for what I'd like to be tomorrow, but ask me in a week and you'll get a different answer.
Okay, who's your biggest critic?
Biggest critic would be, I think my mom. My mom or like Sham. Like if the work is not good, or if I post this, like for example, this is a fun fact. I posted this Chedkhaniya video on my YouTube channel, and
Yeah.
both actually no, my dad, my mom, and Sham were like, "What is this? This is not good. Like, how did this make the cut?" So yeah, if the content's not good, or if there's something that I've said that they're like, "Ye kya bol rahi hai?" Like they will tell me to my face. They're not like the overly like, "Oh my God, everything you do is amazing" type of people.
I think that's the best kind, right? Otherwise, how would you ever get to know when you're
Oh
derating?
yeah, you need that. You need that. That's why it's really important for me for like these like certain 4 or 5 people to be in sync with what I'm doing, because otherwise I know it's not like just fake doing ki, yeah, what you're doing is good.
Okay, so what is the one thing that this current global reality has taught you?
To go with the flow, to not overly take ourselves so seriously. We are a little speck of dust in this entire universe, and there's no point making us ourselves to be anything bigger than that.
I completely agree with you. But Shivani, thank you so much. This was such a great chat. And I hope to catch up with you in person very soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully, I've not rambled for too long. This was a fun experience for me as well. And I loved speaking to you. Had some really, really fantastic questions. And I agree. I hope we're able to meet once all of this craziness passes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. For everyone who tuned in today, thank you so much for taking the time out and listening to our conversation. If this conversation struck a chord with you, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and share this with your friends and family. If you have a take on the topic we discussed, or if you'd like to share some feedback, please feel free to write to me. I'm going to catch you next week with yet another uninterrupted conversation. Have a great evening ahead.